Have you ever wondered how the Russia-Ukraine war began and evolved over time? It all started with the staging of what were deemed illegal referendums in 4 regions of Ukraine. These votes, claiming overwhelming support for joining Russia, were seen as a pretext for escalating the conflict. However, Ukraine and many Western nations dismissed these referendums as a sham, citing reports of voting under duress. Despite this dismissal, the results of these votes gave Russian President Vladimir Putin a potential justification for annexation. The initial reactions from the international community were swift and united in their rejection of these referendums. Yet Putin remained undeterred, possibly viewing these votes as a means to justify his intentions. Meanwhile, Ukraine, backed by Western allies, was gaining momentum, pushing Russia back. This led to fears of further escalation and a desperate situation for Putin, which sparked chaotic mobilization efforts and even threats of using nuclear weapons. So the stage was set. A series of illegal referendums had ignited a conflict that was about to spiral. This was not just a war between Ukraine and Russia. It was a conflict that would not only impact Ukraine and Russia, but send ripples across the globe. As the war escalated, what were the key turning points that have shaped the conflict to date? This war has evolved into a complex battle, with both sides employing advanced tactics such as drone and missile attacks to gain the upper hand. Control over critical regions like Kherson and Zaporizhzhia has become a focal point, as these areas hold strategic importance. But the conflict isn't just about territory, it's also about endurance. The state of the combatants' forces reveals a grim picture. Russian ground forces, once an intimidating presence, are nearing exhaustion with limited reinforcements available. This has resulted in a desperate situation, leading to chaotic mobilization efforts. On the other side, Ukraine's air defenses are depleted, leaving them vulnerable to Russian air superiority. Yet, their ground forces are in better shape than Russia's, presenting a glimmer of hope amid the bleak landscape. Leaked U.S. documents have shed light on these realities, providing significant insights into the conflict. These documents have revealed that Ukraine is preparing for an offensive, while Russia focuses on holding its current positions. The war thus evolves every day, shaped by these turning points and the strategies employed by both sides. The war, it seems, is far from over, with both sides holding mixed hands for the next phase of the conflict. One of the most chilling aspects of this war is the potential for nuclear escalation. But how real is this threat? The Russian President, Vladimir Putin, has openly acknowledged the growing nuclear risk in the ongoing conflict. His comments come as a stark reminder of the stakes involved in this war, raising the specter of a potential nuclear escalation. In a desperate situation, Putin has not shied away from using threats of nuclear weapons, adding a terrifying dimension to an already grim conflict. Meanwhile, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine has become a focal point in the war. The plant, one of the largest in Europe, has been under intense pressure due to the conflict and the harsh winter conditions. The situation there is a stark reminder of the potential catastrophe that could unfold if the war escalates further. With winter taking its toll on the critical infrastructure and power sources in the region, the risk of a nuclear incident, either intentional or accidental, cannot be overlooked. In this high-stakes chess game, the use of nuclear weapons or a nuclear disaster would change the landscape of the conflict dramatically, with consequences reaching far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. The specter of nuclear escalation adds a terrifying dimension to an already complex and tragic conflict. So, where does this leave us today in understanding the Russia-Ukraine war? Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've traversed. We began with the onset of this conflict, ignited by illegal referendums and territorial disputes. These tensions escalated into full-blown warfare, with both sides employing a range of tactics, from ground assaults to drone and missile attacks. As the conflict intensified, we saw the terrifying specter of nuclear warfare raised, underscoring the high stakes and potential global implications of this struggle. In the current landscape, leaked documents suggest a war of attrition. Russian forces are nearing exhaustion, while Ukrainian air defenses are depleted, leaving them vulnerable to Russian air superiority. Yet despite these challenges, both sides continue to strategize and mobilize, with Ukraine preparing for an offensive and Russia focusing on holding its current positions. The future of this conflict remains uncertain, shaped by the actions of these nations and the responses of the global community. The stakes are high, the loss is real, and the need for a resolution urgent. As the world watches, the hope remains for a peaceful resolution that will end the suffering and bring stability